Welcome to Herron Solutions Podcast. This is episode 6. Today we have Sadie Stidstone here as our guest. And we wanted to do a different theme this time. We usually talk about substance use disorder and how it affects our communities, but rarely do we get a perspective from the family members, or we think this is a victimless situation, but it's really not. And so we have Sadie here to give us some insight on what it looks like to be a family member of somebody stuck in active addiction and how that process is. But before we get into it, I want to present you with this mug. This is a mug we give to all of our guests. It's the only place you can get it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so if you could tell us a little bit about your experience.
Well, it probably started when Sam was in high school. I didn't even know that she was using, had no idea. I was like, not my daughter. You know, you go into denial mode, and then you wake up one day and you're like, what? Like, here we are, and so that's how it started. She started in high school. She lost her grandfather her senior year, right after she graduated, and it just went up from there, escalated.
So as a mother and taking you back to that point and starting in seeing your daughter fall into addiction, as a mother, you said that first of all, you really didn't know. What were some of those signs that you started to see when it was happening?
I think I was in denial for a long time. I really didn't know exactly when I realized that it was happening. I think that I noticed, she'd come in late. She would just different, go straight to her room, shut herself off, lock herself in her room, and wouldn't see her. The next day school would start. Actually, she was already done with school. She ended up going to college for a little bit. And, at that point, I really didn't even know, and then she came back home. And at that time, my husband, we were enjoying life. Our kids were grown. They were out of the house. We were going to the lake every weekend, doing our own thing. And I think a lot of that, when you look back at, wow, what did I miss? How did it start? When did it start? We were too busy living our lives, not even focused on Sam. We thought, oh, she's working, she's staying at home, watching the house. Didn't even realize the things that were going on while we were living our life. After a while, people would start saying little things, or I would, find things in her car. It was rough, when reality finally hits you and say, whoa, what? Mm-hmm. What's happening here?
So when you say you found things in her car, just to clarify for our listeners or for those parents out there that may not know what addiction even looks like, what things to maybe even look out for, what type of things would you explain to them?
Lighters. I was like, what the heck? Why are there lighters? Why are my spoons missing? Mm-hmm. Why is there water all the time in her car, like with the lids off, and just things like that.
So how did you start that conversation with her?
Oh, it was fights. Lots of fights. We would go back and forth, and we would just be fighting. I was at a time where I was in a denial for a long time. And then to come to realize, like, what are you doing with your life? Stop. Look, there's 3 things that can happen. Nothing comes out good of doing drugs. You're going to die, overdose and die. You are going to end up in jail. And the other thing, you're going to end up loca. You're not going to end up there. Mm-hmm. You're going to end up, not being there mentally. And that was my biggest fear, I think, with her is I was so afraid that she was going to be one of those that lost their mind and be gone. That was my biggest fear.
I would like to rewind just a little bit. Can you describe for us, say, Samantha's time before these behaviors? Did she play sports? Was she a good student? Was your relationship close? What did her life before addiction look like? That way people can see that this hits everybody. It's random. It doesn't matter who you are.
Her life was, she was, doing well in volleyball. She had gotten scholarships to go to Las Vegas and to play volleyball. And she was going to play volleyball if she got accepted on the team. But she was in every sport, basketball, volleyball. I mean, she was doing really, really well. She was cheerful, happy, always around family. And then that dark side turns, you know. So
So one of the warning signs possibly is the isolation, like you were saying. Did she pull back from family interactions and maybe didn't have that interest in sports anymore?
oh, definitely. She'd be gone. She'd go to work. She's always been a worker. She's always been I don't know, what do you call that, self-sufficient addict, or I don't know what they call it, but she always worked. I noticed she wouldn't go to family functions anymore or go with us to the lake because we lived at the lake every weekend. She pulled herself away. She just pulled away from the whole family, and little by little, you know, started to fade away. Like I said, she did go to college for a little bit. She moved up here to Albuquerque, and after that, she just got into really bad depression. She hated living in Albuquerque, and I don't know if it was because she was away from her friends that were addicts and did things. I didn't realize that she was so bad. That she was so bad. She came to me one day, and I always remember this, and I'm like, what are you doing? But she goes, Mom, she goes, I started with pills. And I want to say it was like Percocets. I'm like, why? I said, what? Shocked me. I'm like, well, how many are you doing? You know, and she'd be like, 10 a day. And I was like, I was floored. Like, what? How? My family comes from addiction, whether it's alcohol, some pills, but never like the hard stuff that she got into, that I know of anyway. But, you know, I know some uncles that were doing the hard stuff. But for me, with Sam, it was just, I was too afraid to ever try drugs because I knew that I probably would like it, and I didn't want to be like that. So it was rough. It was rough.
Was there physical changes in her appearance as she started to transition from the life she had into the addiction? Did you notice, thinking back, maybe not at the time, you know, but looking back?
Oh, yeah.
Do you notice any physical changes?
And, you know, it's weird that you say that because at the time I didn't. But, you know, I look back at pictures, I'm like, what was I thinking? What didn't you not see? She was a toothpick. You know, I have this one picture of her, and when I see it, it makes me really emotional because we're making tortillas that day. And she's looking at the camera, and she's so skinny. She's like a board. And it just was, you know, it was like, wow, that was my baby girl. So young, and she was a baby caught up in this addiction. So it's been rough. And I also would like, if it's okay to talk about, I had another daughter. My oldest daughter was stuck in addiction. You know, she lived with her mom a lot. So we didn't really spend a lot of time with her during her addiction. And it bothers me because I thought, like, we could have helped her. We could have tried to help her. And I didn't realize the impact of addiction. And then a couple years later, then there goes Sam. I never realized it. So I feel bad. I was never really there to support her addiction, and it really, it bothers me. It bothers me, but you ask for forgiveness, you move on, and you go from there.
I'm hearing you, and the heart of a mother is always wanting to help and to fix and to protect our children. And when we aren't able to do that and we feel so helpless and we feel like we don't have that control, that is a difficult place to be as a mom. And so, as going back to where you said when Samantha started letting you know that she was using, what were some things that maybe you all tried together to get her to be in a better place?
Samantha's been in, I can't even tell you how many rehabs. I mean, we nicked that in the butt. I mean, of course, it didn't work. I mean, I want to say 6 or 7 rehabs, you know? But until she decided that she was ready, that's when it was. But it was mainly getting into a rehab. I even took her to a pastor, and we prayed over her and thinking, well, maybe this will help her. And, you know, of course, God never fails. He never fails. I mean, it was in his timing. So, but she was in and out of rehabs, and I thought, oh, God, this time it's going to be great. This time will be better. One of the rehabs that she went to was oh my gosh, she came back worse than ever. And I won't name the rehab, but it was just like she came back doing hard drugs, and I was like, I just couldn't believe it, like my little girl. I remember being in a restaurant there, we went to go see her, and she was living with another gal at the time, and I told her, we're coming to see you, I want to take you to eat and see how you're doing. She had left, was done with the rehab, it was like 30 days, or I don't even know what it was, sober living, or I can't even keep count anymore. So I went to go see her. We knocked on the trailer, my husband and I at the time, knocked. We wouldn't open the door. And we're like, she's like, I'll be right out. She kept texting, I'll be right out. I think we waited there for like 2.5 hours before she even opened that door. And I'm like, what were you doing? Like, oh, I was just getting ready. And I remember going to this restaurant shortly after, just her and me and her dad. And she's sitting there and she's just playing with her food. I don't know if she was sick, I don't know, because at that point I didn't know much about, what stages they were, as far as, was she coming off? Was she really using at that point? And I see her playing with her food, and I look over her, and she's texting, and she puts her phone down, and she puts, I can't even eat. I don't know who she was texting. So it's just like, wow. It just was a big, I saw the text, and that I just happened to look down at her phone and saw, and it really bothered me. I came back and I'm like, we got to get her out of here. Mm-hmm. This is not a good place for her. Not a good situation. So shortly after that, she came home. And, life continues, but as an addict, it was rough. It wasn't easy.
And how did you and your husband cope with that?
I can't speak for him, I guess, is what I can say. Is I just know that I dealt with it. There was times where he dealt with some incidents that happened at the house, or, we're at the lake, just different little things that happened because I was so upset, I was so mad. I'd blow up. And sometimes he'd be more calmer and laid back, and sometimes that was better in the situation. But I think with most of the time, he would try to block it off, and I think that's why we would run away. I think a lot of the time we were trying to distract ourselves by going to the lake and not realizing what we were really doing, not really, trying to stay there and get a handle on it, instead of it. I think it was making things worse. I look back at the time, and like I said, I can't answer for my ex-husband at the time, but, that's what I remember is him just like, him being more mellower than I was. I would blow it, I would lose it, I would yell at her, scream at her, just a lot of different things, It was tough. It was tough, and it was tough on our marriage, and it was rough. So,
Briefly touched on rehabs and situations. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Just pulling from my experience, was there theft? Was there resources used like money? How many cars did you buy? All those things. And I'm only bringing this out because there are parents out there that are probably at some point in this process. And it's good for them to know that the extremes that happen, and it's not a reflection on them, but these extremes do happen.
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember the first piece of jewelry that was ever missing, and I remember us at the time. We had a party at the house, and somebody had used my bathroom, and I thought, how can they take from me, And I look back now and I think, it wasn't, whoever was using the bathroom. It was my own daughter at the time, her boyfriend at the time. One weekend we were at the lake and we came back and I noticed my jewelry box. I even had a lock on it, and I noticed it was like you could tell the lock was picked. It was an easy lock to get into, and I look and a lot of my jewelry was gone. A ring, that I had gotten from my ex-husband, a promise ring when we were young, a wedding ring, a diamond that had belonged to my ex-husband's grandmother was missing. Just things like that, I could put a dollar amount. But it was a lot. It was a lot. But there we were, enabling her, letting her live, letting her do whatever she was going to do. Like I said, she was a functioning addict, but I think at times, with whoever she was with, or I think it took everything she had, plus she needed more. We bought cars for her. I want to say 1, 2, 3 cars. I can't even keep count. They were always wrecked, but not by her. It was always somebody else that wrecked her, whoever she was with at the time. And just, but monetary, it was a lot. It was clothing, be like, where's my Miss Me jeans, and couldn't find them. And but never did I think that, my own daughter would take from me. Never in a million years. Here I'm trying to blame everybody else when it's just right under my nose. And I think that's the hard part about being a parent. And a lot of parents, they say, no, not my kid, not my kid. And I can say I'm one of those that did that for a long time. Even people would say something, family would tell me things, and I'd be like, no way, But it happened. But rehabs, a lot of rehabs.
So when you are all going through this as parents, was there ever any resources or anybody that you ever were able to reach out to? I know that you said you reached out to a pastor for prayer, to pray over her. I know that being a parent in this situation is probably, we know it's very difficult, and sometimes maybe you don't even want to seek to talk to somebody about it because we're the parents, we should know. Was there ever a time or any resources or places that you were able to reach out to as parents in the situation?
For me, the only resource was you at the time. And I don't know if you remember. I remember going to your Narcan classes. I remember going to your Bible studies. For me, that was the only resource that I had. And I really, it helped me at the time, but I think I was still, like I said, in denial. But I think you were the only resource that I have, or that I knew about, or that I even thought about. I didn't want to go to counseling or go, do things like that because you don't think, not mine. But I think you were the only resource that I ever went to. And I thank you for that. So, and that was a long time ago. I remember, I think we were like in a little trailer or a little house, or I can't even remember. I was trying to figure out where it was at the other day, and I couldn't remember where we would go. Was it by Wells Fargo somewhere? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes.
Because it was right across from my work, and I would walk over. Yeah.
It was the house. It was the house, and we were talking about that on another episode not too long ago, and it is crazy because you do forget things until you said it right this moment. You don't realize the impact sometimes, but I do.
And you did have a big impact on me, and you helped me a lot. And I know that even with my daughter, Sam, that she relied on you as well. She would tell me, Mom, I would do this or I do that with Michelle. I'm like, wow. It's like, I never knew that, So we thank you, And you're still doing it. You're still having an impact on our lives. And we appreciate that. Yeah.
I'm thankful. I'm thankful that she has a mother like you that continued, and like all of these parents out there, you can't give up.
And that was mine. I never gave up. It was rough, but I never gave up. I prayed a lot. I would cry a lot. And I have, unfortunately me and my ex-husband, we got divorced, and I am in a new relationship, and with this Esteban, he really brought me out of a place where I was always so angry with Sam. All I would do is yell at her and be mad and tell her off. And I would send her these big old long texts, and he would be like, stop. He was so supportive, and he would say, like, stop. If something happens to her, if she overdoses, she dies, is that the last thing you want her to remember about you? So it was just so amazing to have the support and make you realize, like, you know what, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. He was there very, very supportive, and he would go to the family, like they would have counseling, or not counseling, but it was like a family day or something that they would have, and they would do these, break us up into different groups, and it made us realize a lot going into those. I think it was it was Vista de Taos that she finally went to, and that one was a real eye-opener, and they spoke with us a lot and sat us down and said, this is the way it works. You don't let them manipulate you. You need to stop. You need to finally, put a handle. So that helped us a lot. And it helped me realize, okay, take a step back. You're doing all you can. It's up to her. And by the grace of God, we are here today. So, and we owe it all to God and to everybody that's helped her, along the way. But I know that my prayers, I prayed a lot. I still pray. I worry all the time. I have, both of my daughters are both, addicts, or I guess, I don't know if you always call them addicts or not, but, they're both clean. Ashley's been clean for I think more than 10 years or 8 years, something like that, maybe longer. Very proud of her. She's come a long way. She's an awesome mom. She's amazing, amazing mom. And she's good to her kids.
You had mentioned that turning point that you had. And in that moment where you were able to kind of just let things go and start to allow for what was going to happen. And with your prayer and your focus on God being in control and being there at all times with you, was there anything else that you realized so that you could have a different relationship with your daughter? Or maybe that could apply to both of your daughters. Was there something that you remember most where you were able to say, like, this is where my relationship changed with them?
I think it was the point where I told you, where someone's like, stop. You need to stop putting them down. Stop. You're lowering them. You're not lifting them. And I think that's where the turning point was for me. And, finally realizing, okay, God, I'm letting go. I'm giving them to you. This is it. And finally, I finally got peace. Even though Samantha was still battling addiction, I could tell her, I love you, I'm praying for you, and I hope you're okay. I mean, finally, you have to just finally wash your hands and say, I've done everything I can, because I felt as a mother with Ashley with Sam that I did. It's just rough.
I would like to talk about the fresh breath, the moment when, or span of time when you felt, okay, when you could start to see your daughter and you could see her in her eyes again, when you felt like, okay, daylight's coming. Look at the change in her. Can you describe that feeling and that span of time when she started this path towards who she is today?
I guess drug court, when she graduated drug court, I didn't realize that the impact it would have on Samantha. And I think at her drug court, I was like, God, finally, thank you, Jesus, like a fresher breath air. As time went on, and I think another time for me, that I knew that she was going to be okay, the day she got married. The day she got married, because I knew that, Josh, battled addiction, but I could see them just intertwine and just know that their focus is on God and know that they were going to be okay, both of them. That was a big, like, whew. Thank you, God, for answering my prayers. Like, both of my kids are doing well. They're both married. They're finally on track. And I think, I'm so proud of both of them. I wish I would have been there more, but you live and you learn. We're parents. Samantha being where she's at, it's finally I'm at peace. I can sleep at night.
Definitely a breath of fresh air, being able to sleep at night and to just, as a mother, see them continue to grow into the beautiful women that they are today. And again, for those parents out there that may think there's no hope, or may think, where are my prayers going? They're not being heard. What else can I do? For them to be able to hear you and to hear your story, that there is hope. Are there any other words that you can think of that you could tell that mom or that dad or that grandma or that family member, those kids, about maybe their parents? What could you tell those people out there that have a loved one stuck in addiction still right now today?
This brings me back to, I work for the public defender's office. And so a lot of our clients that come in, they're criminals. They have, or what do you call the word? Not criminals, but until proven guilty. But a lot of them, you get the calls of their grandmas, their moms, their dads, and I listen to them, and it reminds me of myself, because I remember being on the phone calling, hey, can I help her? I'd call the rehab. Well, she needs a call, And so I had a mom in particular probably about a month ago, and she's like, my daughter, she just needs help. She really, really wants a help, and she just needs to get her. Can you please help her? And so I told her, let me tell you a story. I said, my daughter was an addict. my daughters were addicts. I said, right now they're clean. I said, they have to want it and they have to do it themselves. I said, you pray, you never give up hope. You just get on your knees and pray and just pray. And like Esteban would tell me, I would tell him, like, don't be mean to them. Love them, because you don't want the last thing for them to hear is that you're yelling at them or you're mad at them. So that was the advice that I gave her. And I said, don't give up on her. I said, but there's some great programs out there. I said, she needs to get in touch with our social workers here at work and they'll put her in a program. I said, but just one thing, don't give up on her. And so in my job, my line where I'm at now, I'm able to talk to a couple parents that come in, and it's always the parents that are calling, and it just reminds me of me all the time when I would call different places or call the probation or call the jails and, hey, how's she doing, things like that. So
It sounds like you're in a position where you can really, in a sense, support and give advice to those who are going through what you went through.
I try my hardest. I do, but then you get those parents who are like, he's never been in trouble and I don't know why he did this. And I see myself.
Yeah.
I see myself, definitely see myself. But, I love my job, and I'm like, there's, and it's not all the time. It's when the parents are reaching out or if they ask but I think I've been there. I was there for 3 years. I left for a year, went back, and I'm there a year and a half. And, that was the first opportunity that I was able to tell this lady, don't give up hope. There is hope, and just, keep praying. So it felt really good to be able to tell my story. I go into the jails, and it's just for my work, but it's like sometimes I just wish I could talk to them and say, there's hope, don't, get back on track. But I can't, I'm just there to do one thing and that's it. But it's in my line of work, you see a lot of addicts, and they walk in the door, and you just feel so bad for them, and you're just like, you can change, Sam can change, anybody can change.
Speaking about a change in Sam, can you describe to us, what is Samantha doing today? What kind of a person is Samantha today?
Oh, Samantha, she did a U-turn, a 360, whatever you call it. She's amazing. You see the brightness, the happy girl that was when she was playing sports, when she wasn't an addict. She's brought back to life, and it just seeing her shine and seeing her grow as a person. She's already 32, I think, and it's just amazing. Like, God, I never thought I would be in this position. I never thought I would see her clean and happy. This is the happiest I've ever seen Sam. And she was happy as a kid. She had her troubles and things like that, but this is the happiest I've ever seen her. So
There is life after addiction.
there is, and even as a family, it's not the addict that's only going through it, it's the whole family. But it affected us very much, and things happen and life goes on, and you try to make the best of your situation. You do.
And so your relationship, you mentioned how amazing and how happy that this is the best you've seen her for since she was young, before addiction. Like, when did your relationship start to come back to what you guys had?
When she finally got clean, which I think was in 2021, she went to jail in 2019. That changed her life. That was a big the hand of God. She was facing prison. She was going to go to prison, girl. And then when she was clear, her mind was finally clear, and and she started to grow, before she got married, I think drug court, like in that time, that's when, even before that, when she was clean and stuff, she rented this little apartment and was doing her thing, but she was clean, she was starting to grow, but I think after the drug court and after all these little sequence of things that happen, that's when you see the change in her. And today, wow, amazing.
In your relationship, as Patricia was asking, how or what she touched on as far as your relationship together today, what does that look like?
It's amazing. I mean, we finally have a relationship. I can talk to her about anything. She's busy, so she has a life, so I hardly ever get to talk to her. But when I do, when she finally calls me and she has she can breathe, she'll call me. But it's probably the closest we've been in a long time since her addiction, and it feels amazing. It feels amazing. And same with my daughter Ashley. I think you always think of your kids. Ashley is my stepdaughter, and I always would say my stepdaughter, my stepdaughter. Well, she's not my stepdaughter. She's my daughter. And so with her as well, our relationship has flourished. We have lives, and sometimes we don't talk every day or anything. With both of my daughters, it has been, a complete 360, and we're able to talk and just talk about things that happened before. And I know that they both probably have things that they still want to talk to me about that they haven't really felt comfortable about talking with me. Today, I just know that our relationships are a lot better. And, I've asked her for forgiveness. I've, asked them, forgive me, because I was crazy back then too. I would lose it. But it's a lot better now with both my kids.
So there is hope. There is change.
Definitely.
From what I'm getting, parents that are out there now trying to figure out what's going on, what to do next. One of the major things to remember is to not give up hope. Do not withhold your love, but keep yourself safe, like you said.
Yes, definitely. I'm going to go back to another story. I had a friend, and she's a really close friend of mine, and her daughter was stuck in addiction. Before I even knew that mine was stuck in addiction, and she would say things and I'm done. She's out of the house. I don't care. And I'd be like, how could you, and I didn't know, I had no idea. But now I could see why. You just finally just have to let go. And at that time I was judging her when I had no idea. And I think that's what happens in today's society, that parents don't realize the impact that they're having on their kids while they're in addiction, when they're not loving them like they should be, or giving or having hope for them, instead of being so. Yes, you have boundaries, and I think for me, I would do anything for Sam. I would be like, I remember her one day asking me, Mom, please, just one more time. I don't have any money, please. I remember her, and she's crying and crying. I'm like, no. She was screaming, she's hurting, and but I just think back and I think parents, wake up. Don't be naive. Don't be, words, I shouldn't say it's stupid, or because sometimes that's the way I felt, why didn't I see anything, or why didn't I see? But when you do, first of all, get down on your knees and pray to God. But there are resources out there. Don't be in denial like I am, because there is hope, there is hope. And for the parents that are just strictly kick them out the door and never have anything to do with them, that's not the answer either. I feel, and maybe for other parents there is. You don't have to enable them, but you could still show them love.
I hear hope.
Hope.
And love.
Yes.
Change everything.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, definitely. It's been a rough road, but we're here, and it's all to the glory of God. God's grace shined upon my daughters, and that's what it's about. And I'm lucky to have lived this so far, because a lot of parents don't get that opportunity. They get kids that overdose or that don't make it, but there's hope. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's up to the addict to get the help and the want that they need.
Talking about basically future, the future is there for your family. What do you envision in the next few years? What do you picture as far as the future with your relationships with your daughters, with the repair and healing that you all have gone through?
I just envision just a lot of peace, family time, peace. There's lots of things that I envision, but just family. There's nothing more important than family, God and family.
Beautiful story, beautiful process. I would like to say that Samantha, your daughter, is a CPSW and a CSW here at Herron Solutions, where today she comes alongside people. It's like this story, we fall into a hole and people keep walking past, but that one person jumps down in the hole because they know the way out. That's what Samantha's doing today. She's showing people the way out. Yeah, so just so people are aware, this is how this works. This healing works with family support and peer support.
Yes. We thank you so much for coming on today. We thank you for your heart. We thank you for your daughter, because she is amazing and she's doing amazing things. And what was meant for bad has been turned to good. She is now able to be on that other side to help people through those prayers. Those prayers are so powerful. So those parents that are out there, those family members that are out there, don't stop. Don't stop, because there is hope.
There is hope, and just get on those knees and pray, and and thank you guys. Thank you for giving her the opportunities that she's been given. Thank you to Josh. He's been a wonderful husband to her. I think they both keep each other balanced.
Yes.
and I think it's great because they had a lot of opposition, normal expectation, no opposition that, they didn't want them together. And, God's hand. I mean, God said, I'm going to whip you and this is it. And so I'm just glad that they're both, Josh. I mean, Josh has been a big support for her. This whole group has been a big support for her. And I don't think she would be here without you guys either. So I really thank you for all the opportunities that you guys have given her and shown her. And she's shining.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, she's shining.
Definitely is. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here today.
Yes,
course.
thank you.